Sometimes the people who smile at your wedding are the same ones who will bury you alive before your first anniversary. Listen to me closely, brother, sister. This story isn't just about Hassan, it's about you. It's about the uncle who suddenly became concerned about your choices, the cousin who whispers behind your back, the inheritance that turned your own blood into strangers. If you've ever felt the sharp edge of jealousy wrapped in family love, then you need to hear what happened in Baghdad. Because what destroyed Hassan's marriage didn't come from outside his home, it came from within it. And if you don't recognize the signs, it will come for you too. Allah warns us in Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 12, "O you who have believed, avoid much negative assumption. Indeed, some assumption is sin. And do not spy or backbite each other. Would one of you like to eat the flesh of his brother when dead? You would detest it. Stay until the end. Your family might depend on it." Hassan al-Maliki didn't believe in bad omens. He was a practical man, 31 years old, an engineer who built bridges for a living, someone who believed that steel and stone could outlast superstition. When his mother came to him one evening in the summer of 2019 and said she had found him a wife, he smiled, not because he was eager, but because he trusted her. "Her name is Layla," his mother said, her eyes soft with the kind of hope only mothers carry. "She's from a good family, educated. Praise her 5 daily prayers. And Hassan," she paused, placing her hand on his, "she has a beautiful heart." Hassan met Layla 3 weeks later in the presence of both families. She wore a cream-colored hijab and spoke with the kind of quiet confidence that didn't need to prove itself. She was a teacher. She loved poetry. And when she smiled, Hassan saw something rare in this world: sincerity. They were engaged within 2 months. But here's what Hassan didn't see, what no one saw at first. Sitting in the corner of that same gathering, sipping tea with a tight smile, was his uncle, Kareem. Hassan's father had passed away years earlier, and Kareem had stepped in as the family patriarch. He was the one who had managed the inheritance, the one who had kept things together, the one everyone respected. But Kareem's smile didn't reach his eyes that day, because Hassan's engagement meant something Kareem hadn't planned for: independence. You see, Hassan's father had left behind 2 properties in central Baghdad, valuable, sought after, the kind of land that doubles in price every few years. According to Islamic inheritance law, Hassan was entitled to his full share. But Kareem had been managing that wealth for over a decade, and managing in Kareem's dictionary meant controlling. The moment Hassan got married, he would ask questions. He would want access. He would want to build a future for his wife. And Kareem couldn't allow that. However, Kareem was no fool. He didn't rage. He didn't protest. Instead, he did what poison does best. He smiled, agreed, and began to plan in silence. The wedding took place on a Friday evening in October, beneath the stars, in a garden on the outskirts of Baghdad. Lanterns glowed like little prayers. The Quran was recited with tenderness. Layla's hands were decorated with henna that told stories of joy. Hassan's mother wept, not from sadness, but from the kind of relief that comes when you see your child finally find peace. Even Kareem was there, front and center, embracing Hassan like a father. "May Allah bless this union," he said loudly for everyone to hear. "You've made us all proud." But pride, Hassan would soon learn, is a mask jealousy wears in public. The first month of marriage was everything Hassan had prayed for. Layla filled his home with laughter. She cooked meals that tasted like comfort. She corrected his Quran recitation with patience and teased him when he mispronounced a word. At night, they would sit on the balcony and talk about everything. About raising children who knew their Rab, about traveling to Mecca together, about growing old in a house filled with mercy. Hassan had never felt more certain of anything. But then the phone call started. It began innocently enough. Kareem would call every few days. "Just checking in," he'd say. "How's married life? Is Layla treating you well?" The questions felt normal at first, until they weren't. "Has she asked you about the properties yet?" Kareem asked one evening, his voice casual but calculated. "What?" Hassan frowned. "No. Why would she? Just asking, nephew. You know how women can be. Once they're married, they start planning." Hassan laughed it off, but the seed was planted. A week later, Kareem called again. This time he was less subtle. "I heard Layla's brother is in some financial trouble," Kareem said. "Just thought you should know. People talk." "Her brother? I've never even met him." "Exactly," Kareem replied. "Don't you think that's strange? Why wouldn't they introduce you? Maybe they're hiding something." Hassan hung up feeling uneasy, not because he believed it, but because doubt, once whispered, is hard to silence. However, Kareem didn't stop there. He began visiting more often, always when Layla was home. He would sit in their living room, sipping tea, offering advice that felt like love but tasted like suspicion. "You're a good man, Hassan," Kareem would say, "but you're too trusting. A man must protect what's his. You understand?" And then one day, Kareem did something unforgivable. He went to Layla directly. She was alone in the house, folding laundry when Kareem knocked. She welcomed him in as as was customary, offering tea and dates. But Kareem's face was somber. "Layla," he began slowly, "I need to talk to you about something serious. It's about Hassan." Her heart tightened. "Is he okay?" "Physically, yes, but emotionally." Kareem sighed deeply, shaking his head. "He's been under a lot of pressure. The inheritance, the responsibilities, and there are things he hasn't told you." Layla's hands stilled. "What things?" "He's been meeting with lawyers about dividing the properties. He thinks you're after his money." The words hit her like a stone. "That's not true," she whispered, her voice breaking. I would never." "I know," Kareem said gently, placing a hand over his heart. "But you know how men are. Once they start doubting." He let the sentence hang in the air, heavy and poisonous. When Hassan came home that evening, Layla was quiet, distant. Her eyes were red, but she didn't cry in front of him. She simply asked, in a voice that barely held together, "Do you think I married you for your money?" Hassan froze. "What? No. Who told you that?" "It doesn't matter. Layla, look at me. Do you trust me, Hassan?" Her voice cracked. "Because if you don't, then what are we doing?" They fought that night for the first time. Not loudly, but in the worst way, in silence, in distance, in the slow crumbling of something that had felt unbreakable just weeks before. But the real poison hadn't even been poured yet. 2 weeks later, Hassan received a letter. It was from a law firm in Baghdad, stating that there were discrepancies in the inheritance documents, that his father's properties were under legal review, that someone had filed a claim suggesting Hassan was not the rightful heir. Hassan's hands shook as he read it. He called Kareem immediately. "Did you know about this?" Kareem's voice was calm, too calm. "I was trying to protect you from it, Hassan. I didn't want to worry you during your honeymoon phase." "Protect me? This is my inheritance, my father's legacy. And I've been managing it for years," Kareem snapped, his mask finally slipping. "Do you think it's been easy? Do you think I haven't sacrificed for this family?" Hassan felt his chest tighten. "What are you saying?" There was a pause. Then Kareem spoke, his voice low and venomous. "I'm saying you should be grateful. I'm saying that without me you'd have nothing. And I'm saying that if you keep pushing, you might lose more than property. You might lose everything." The line went dead. Hassan stood in his living room, letter in hand, heart pounding, and for the first time since his wedding day, he felt true fear, not of losing money, but of losing her. Because when he turned around, Layla was standing in the doorway, her face pale, her voice barely a whisper. "Hassan, what have we gotten into?" The worst betrayals don't come with a warning, they come with a smile, a hug, and the word family. But here's what you don't know yet: how deep the rot went, how far Kareem was willing to go, and how Hassan and Layla had to choose between protecting their family or exposing it. This isn't just a story about greed, it's about what happens when the people you trust most become the ones you should fear. And by the end, you'll understand why the Prophet warned us about envy, because it doesn't just destroy the one who holds it, it destroys everyone around them. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Falaq, verse 5, "And from the evil of an envier when he envies." Hassan didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the letter in his hands, reading it over and over as if the words might change. Behind him, Layla lay facing the wall, her back turned, her breathing slow and deliberate, the kind of breath you take when you're trying not to cry. "We need to talk to him," Hassan finally said, his voice hoarse. Layla didn't respond. "Layla, talk to who, Hassan?" She sat up, her eyes red and swollen. "Your uncle? The man who looked me in the face and told me you didn't trust me? The man who's been poisoning this marriage since day one? He's still family? Family?" Her voice cracked. "Hassan, wake up. He's not protecting you. He's destroying you. And if you can't see that, then maybe he's already won." The words hit harder than any argument they'd ever had, because deep down, Hassan knew she was right. But admitting it meant facing something darker. It meant accepting that the man who had raised him after his father died, the man who had taught him how to pray far, who had driven him to school, who had stood beside him at his wedding, was the same man trying to rob him blind. How do you fight someone you've loved your whole life? The next morning, Hassan did what he should have done months ago. "You want to see a lawyer?" Not just any lawyer, Sheikh Yusuf al-Najjar, a man known in Baghdad for his integrity and his deep knowledge of Islamic inheritance law. Hassan sat across from him in a small office that smelled of old books and strong coffee, and he laid everything out: the properties, the letter, Kareem's evasive answers, the years of management that had never been properly documented. Sheikh Yusuf listened without interruption. Then he leaned back in his chair, folded his hands, and said something that made Hassan's blood run cold. "Your uncle has been selling portions of the land." Hassan's heart stopped. "What?" "Small pieces, over the years, quietly. Legally, on paper it looks like he had authority, but Islamically?" Sheikh Yusuf shook his head. "He had no right. Those properties were yours the moment your father passed. He was only a custodian, and custodians don't sell what they don't own." Hassan felt the room tilt. "How much?" Nearly 40% of the original estate. The number didn't feel real. It felt like a nightmare. Can we get it back? Hassan's voice was barely above a whisper. Sheikh Yusuf's face softened. Yes, but it will take time. And it will require you to do something very difficult. What? You'll have to take him to court, publicly, in front of the family, in front of the community. Hassan closed his eyes. Because in Baghdad, in any tight-knit society, taking family to court wasn't just legal action. It was social suicide. It meant scandal. It meant shame. It meant your name would be whispered in mosques and majlis gatherings for years. However, doing nothing meant letting Kareem win. It meant watching his father's legacy vanish. It meant starting his marriage on a foundation of stolen wealth and hidden lies. So Hassan made his choice. He filed the case. When Kareem found out, he didn't call. He didn't text. He showed up at Hassan's door at midnight, pounding so hard the neighbors turned on their lights. Layla was terrified. Hassan told her to stay inside, then stepped out into the courtyard to face him. Kareem's face was twisted with rage. You filed against me? Against me? You stole from me, Hassan said, his voice steady despite the storm in his chest. You stole from my father's memory. I raised you. Kareem shouted, his spit flying. When your father died, who took care of you? Who paid for your schooling? Who made sure you had food on your table? And I'm grateful for that, Hassan said, but gratitude doesn't give you the right to rob me. Kareem stepped closer, his voice dropping to something dangerous. If you go through with this, I will destroy you. I will tell everyone that your wife is the reason, that she's the one who turned you against your family. I will make sure no one in this city respects your name again. Hassan felt his hands curl into fists, but he didn't move. Do what you have to do, he said quietly, but I'm not backing down. Kareem stared at him for a long moment, then he spat on the ground and walked away. But Kareem wasn't finished. The rumors started within days. Suddenly, everywhere Hassan went, people were talking. At the mosque, at the market, even at work. I heard his wife is controlling him. She's the one pushing him to betray his uncle. Money changes people. He's forgotten where he came from. Layla bore the worst of it. Women she had once smiled at in the neighborhood now looked away. Her students' parents started pulling their children from her classes. Someone even left a note on her car, "Gold digger." She came home one evening, collapsed on the couch, and finally broke. I can't do this, Hassan, she sobbed. I can't keep living like this. Everyone hates me. Everyone thinks I'm the villain. Hassan sat beside her, wrapping his arms around her, his own eyes burning with tears he refused to let fall. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. For what? She asked, looking up at him. For trusting your family? For believing people are good? That's not something to apologize for, Hassan. That's what makes you you. And in that moment, despite everything, Hassan realized something profound. Kareem had tried to destroy their marriage, but he had accidentally made it stronger. Because when the world turns against you, the only thing you have left is each other. And that, Hassan understood now, was enough. The court case took 11 months. 11 months of legal hearings, testimony, document reviews, and pressure from every direction. Family members took sides. Some supported Hassan quietly. Others openly condemned him. His mother, torn between her son and her brother-in-law, stopped speaking to both of them. But Sheikh Yusuf stood firm. He presented every record, every transaction, every shred of evidence that proved Kareem had overstepped his bounds. And when the judge finally delivered his ruling, it was clear. Kareem was ordered to return the stolen portions of the inheritance. Not in full, because some had already been sold to third parties, but a significant amount. He was also publicly reprimanded for breach of trust. Hassan didn't feel victorious. He felt tired. But more than that, he felt free. On the day the ruling was finalized, Hassan and Layla sat on their balcony again, the way they used to in the early days of their marriage. Do you regret it? Layla asked softly. Hassan thought about it, about the rumors, the isolation, the pain. Then he looked at her, at the woman who had stood beside him when the entire world was against them. No, he said, not for a second. She smiled, a real smile, the first one he'd seen in months. You know what the worst part was? She said. What? That he made us doubt each other, even for a moment. Hassan nodded. That's what poison does. It doesn't kill you outright. It just makes you forget what clean water tastes like. They sat in silence for a while. Then Layla took his hand. We're going to be okay, she whispered. And for the first time in nearly a year, Hassan believed it. Years later, Hassan would tell his children this story, not to teach them to fear family, but to teach them something deeper. That trust is sacred. That betrayal is real. That sometimes the people closest to you are the ones you need to protect yourself from. And that when you marry someone, you're not just choosing a partner. You're choosing who you'll fight beside when the world catches fire. Kareem never apologized. He moved to another part of the city and was rarely seen again. Some said he was consumed by shame. Others said he simply didn't care. But Hassan and Layla, they rebuilt. They had 3 children. They named their first son after Hassan's father. And they taught all of them this simple but powerful truth. Greed will always call itself love. But real love never needs to steal. This story moved you, share it. Not for views, but because someone in your life needs to hear it. Someone who's being manipulated by family and doesn't even know it. Someone who thinks standing up for themselves makes them disloyal. It doesn't. It makes makes them brave. Allahumma afazna min shari man aradana bisu. O Allah, protect us from the evil of those who wish us harm.